Welcome back to Make Money Online. Today I want to talk about why the SEC lawsuit against Ripple Labs and its chairman Larsen and CEO Brett Garlinghouse makes no sense whatsoever. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. A major reason for the phenomenal growth of crypto markets in recent years has been the absence of regulation. Crypto assets present a unique problem for regulators because they exist as hybrids between assets, currencies, securities, and commodities. In these instances, regulators seek to classify crypto assets in ways that bring them within the regulatory jurisdictions. This stands against the principle of decentralization itself. Cryptocurrencies can never be subject to the regulations that they're looking to fight. The current situation surrounding Ripple-backed XRP is a unique one. It happened before, but in a different light when compared to the first instances of its occurrence. Bitcoin is the first to be charged with a case of fraud in 2017. But that's not the only one. In 2020, the SEC halted the launch of Telegram's TON blockchain and ultimately its Gram tokens. The SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple on the same ground as the Telegram lawsuit in the same year. If the SEC is allowed to bully cryptocurrencies into submission, there's no telling what it might mean for the crypto industry. The agency has challenged the legal status of the crypto trading on both cryptocurrencies. This case attacks the credibility of a crypto's foundation. Ripple, a renowned name among the top companies in the cryptocurrency industry, announced that the Securities and Exchange Commission was going to file a lawsuit against the company over the alleged sale of unlicensed securities. The SEC being the culprit in all cases, with other regulatory bodies lining up to take a shot at the crypto industry. The SEC has in the past been observed to be targeting certain cryptocurrencies. The action will follow years of debate between the company and the agency about whether XRP is a security, like a share of stock. Its confirmation as a stock for Ripple means it should have been registered with the agency, and any transaction that exists before that registration means the operation of the crypto is illegal. Ripple is standing firm because the coin is not related to the organization and is a currency which puts it beyond the SEC's jurisdiction. This is usually how most cryptos are offered. Every crypto tends to start with a private coin offering that helps to establish the public interest in the coin. It's then pushed to the public either for free or requires a small amount of money paid as an investment for the value of the crypto at the time. XRP is pre-mined and only about 100 billion exist, with just about 45 billion XRP being circulated. The state of anything being a security is also a reflection of the company's policy, whether to release all or more of the company's shares, stock, or crypto. Bitcoin remains the only crypto that is usually being mined using technical equipment and thus is pretty much exempted from this clause. Ethereum has a pretty complex nature that may be responsible for why it steers clear of violating the SEC rules. But this kind of problem with the SEC suing Ripple is a danger to any cryptocurrency out there. Recently, the SEC has ruled that the two most valuable cryptocurrencies, that is Bitcoin and Ethereum, are not securities. This conclusion was defined because they're decentralized with no person or company in control of them. XRP is different from Bitcoin and Ethereum in that both are mined gradually. For XRP, the stakeholders of Ripple Labs created 100 billion units of XRP in 2012 for the operations of the company. While Ripple continues to own the lion's share of XRP after having bought into it, the bulk of its treasury is held in reserve, to be sold in scheduled allotments, with a certain percentage only being allowed for sale, say about 1% of the total holdings. The board of directors of Ripple is also thought to own a significant amount of XRP, hence the reason the names of Chairman Chris Larsen and CEO Brett Garlinghouse have been mentioned as part of the offenders in the lawsuit. This arrangement led the SEC to view XRP as more akin to a company's stock than a currency. The thing is, there was never a rule set in place to mark the thin line between the currency and a security until 2017. A law was put in place following the crypto industry surge in that year, and this came 5 years after XRP's establishment. Ripple, however, began pursuing business ideas around XRP nearly 8 years ago, at a time when the SEC had offered no guidance on digital tokens. There was absolutely no rule on the ground to curtail the measures being taken by most cryptocurrencies to attract investors. Hence, there wasn't and still isn't no infringement since the coin no longer enjoys the pleasure of being an initial coin offering. Ripple had been planning to shift base from the United States to another country where it would be able to function without the excess of regulators such as the SEC. The United States remains the only country that's threatening the crypto industry, as its regulatory bodies continually bare their teeth at upcoming crypto on different fronts. Since the SEC first announced its suit, multiple popular exchanges have announced that they're halting XRP trading. Currently trading at around 30 cents, XRP is down by about 56% since the SEC first announced the lawsuit. Coinbase already suspended trading of XRP. XRP is inherently decentralized, but maybe just not entirely according to the SEC. The SEC believes that the degree of decentralization makes a critical difference in the way they approach the crypto. This means that if there's even the slightest inkling of centralization, it wouldn't hesitate to pounce on it. It expects that there should be no CEO or organizing body with enough power in the coin to pursue civil charges in the first place. With Ripple and XRP, this is not the case. The coin only helps centralized financial bodies improve their services. The SEC is merely flailing in the wind and barking up the wrong tree. Ripple has pushed back aggressively for years on the notion that XRP is a security. The company denounced having any impact on the crypto and that it does not have the discretion to tap the reserve funds as it wishes, and that XRP has become increasingly decentralized as banks and other merchants use it as a bridge currency in transactions. The SEC is completely wrong on the facts and law, and we're confident that Ripple will ultimately prevail before a standing unbiased court. This case bears no resemblance to the initial coin offering cases the SEC has previously brought. Other major branches of the US government, including the Justice Department and the Treasury Department's FinCEN, have already determined that XRP is a currency. Transactions in XRP thus fall outside the scope of the federal securities laws. This is not the first time the SEC has tried to go beyond its statutory authority. We've seen an incredible amount of progress, innovation, and growth. This year alone, there's been several new products brought to the market and features leveraging XRP, like line of credit, enabling a better experience for customers. Interestingly enough, after all these years, it's two things that have not changed about XRP: its mission, the Internet of Value, and the fact that XRP is a currency and not a security. It's unequivocally the best digital asset for payments. There have been complaints that there's a lack of regulatory clarity for crypto in the US, and the SEC in the United States has sat back and watched for years. In fact, the discussion around why XRP is a currency and not a security is one that has been dragged with the SEC for nearly 3 years now, and yet no clarity was established. SEC's charges and the events surrounding it suggest that this is all based on their illogical claim that XRP is in their view somehow the functional equivalent of a share. What's more, for them to say that XRP has been a security all along, particularly when the US Treasury and US Department of Justice have long ago concluded XRP is a currency, is just strange. The entire AML-BSA compliance program is built on the fact that XRP is a currency. When you marry this with the fact that many other G20 governments call XRP a currency, it's truly confounding that the SEC would take this step. In this case, XRP is a proxy for every other altcoin in the space. From there, you have a snowball effect. This isn't good news for any market maker, exchanges like Coinbase and others. This sets a terrible industry-wide precedent for any company working with a digital asset. It's just incredible that the SEC is in the business of picking winners in this industry, or really any industry, and disadvantaging companies here in the US. Despite what people think, it's obvious the SEC is not at all committed to fostering innovation in the digital asset space. With this behavior, the SEC engaged in an all-out attack on the crypto industry. They seem to be way out of step with what other governments are doing, ignoring the very positive macro trend line and incredible potential and existing utility of the crypto. The crypto industry can and will thrive, but this will push innovation outside of the US. The claims are misguided and defy basic logic. No matter what twists and turns are ahead, Ripple vows to stand by their employees, shareholders, and customers. Still business as usual, and they need to stay focused and continue to trust the value that hundreds of customers around the globe have come to expect a certain standard from Ripple. Although the SEC's decision brings an even greater sense of urgency. Ripple also looks forward to working with the new Biden administration to see if they can find a rational path forward. Well, that's it for today's video. We hope you found it informative. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click that notification bell. What else would you like us to discuss about Ripple and XRP? Let us know your answers in the comments below. While you're here, go ahead and check out one of the videos on your screen, and we'll see you next time.